Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us in outer space at the International Space Station, staying curious today. So, big day of space history. We got two astronaut birthdays. I got Selvin Trotter pinch hitting today. Hey, Selvin. Today is 8:25. We're going to talk about Crew 7 launch that got delayed last night. Why? And they're going to tomorrow this morning, we hope. The Manned Orbiting Laboratory was announced on this date over 60 years ago, and it never happened, but it was an interesting spy versus spy concept. And you're going to learn about the last planet of the solar system, Neptune. Pluto is a planet. We all of us baby boomers agree on that. But Neptune was visited up close for the first and only time on this date in space history in 1989, 34 years ago. And like I said, two astronaut birthdays. Of course, we have moved our Stay Curious programming to exclusively YouTube because we make a nickel or a dime every program off of that. I think we made almost $3 last week, Selvin. Oh, wow. So, yeah. So that is the QR code to hit. There will be QR codes on Facebook and the link to go to YouTube. You do not have to subscribe to YouTube to watch it. You do have to subscribe to make comments. And when they ask for a subscription, you just give them your email. I've never gotten any junk mail from YouTube. So I think it's a very safe thing to do to join it. And we have almost 2,000 people following us on YouTube. We're very proud of that. It's taken us a while to build that up. Episode number 880 today, Selvin, for Stay Curious. Wow. So, like I said, we went to YouTube about a year ago in July. So, and thank you to Trekkie Techie Jessica Galloway for getting us out of a little jam before we went live here. Selvin, thank you for pinch hitting for Marty, who is enjoying a good, well-deserved day off today. Well, let's look at the space history. Thank you, Carlton Bailey, for sharing your photos with the American Space Museum so freely. This is his photo last night, the strong back on the left holding up that Falcon 9, 222 feet in the air with the Crew Dragon named Endurance on it. Well, it got scrubbed. Carlton's communicating with me. I did a little moon gaze last night at the beachside hotel and then went home getting ready to go out about 3 to watch the launch somewhere. And Carlton sent me this picture that the clock was stuck at 3 minutes and there was no built-in holds, as this is an instantaneous launch. It has to go at the time exactly when they choose it to get to the International Space Station accurately. And Carlton said they waited over 25 minutes until NASA officially informed them that it had been scrubbed, though everybody knew when the clock stopped that it was going to be. And that's the communications center there about 11 o'clock at night. Nobody home there. There's one woman at the desk in the back there. But very little information given to the press, and that certainly is aggravating when they spend a lot of time and expense to get there. But this is a whole backlog now. Of hotels and so forth having to be sought after to stay one more night. NASA said Friday that the discussions about the scrub centered around the safety of a component in the Crew Dragon's life support system. Dragon's environmental control and life support system needed additional time to complete the analysis and thorough review that was necessary ahead of launch. But it does say all the environmental valves on Crew 7 and the Crew 6 Dragon spacecraft are performing normally. That Crew Dragon 6 is docked at the space station. So they're not saying exactly what they were looking at, but better safe than sorry when you're talking about the support system and some question about it. So hopefully we'll get the launch off today. 3:27 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Friday morning there. So, Carlton, thank you for sharing those pictures. Let's next go to the, before I hit that right away, our Crew 7 going up I don't have pictures of him right here. But that is Jasmine Mogbelly is the commander on her first flight. Andreas Morgensen, he is going up for ESA on his second flight. Satoshi Furukawa for JAXA, his second flight. And the rookie Russian is Konstantin Borisov. So this would make 604 humans orbiting the Earth and 74 women once they get up to space there, and we have no doubt that they will. So let's segue here to the other big news that, gosh, it's hard to find anything about it. India, I wish that you'd be more open about your landing on the moon. Chandrayaan-3 with the little rover. There you're going to see in this artwork here is the big lander, which is probably 7 feet tall, maybe not that big. Weighed 2 tons though. And the little rover over there, it's about this big, but looks like to be about 4 feet in diameter or 4 feet long. That is the first picture that they've released from the surface, taken by a camera on the stationary lander at the South Pole of the moon. There is an engineering photograph that you see the little rover on the ramp coming down the ramp. I see a tripod in the foreground there. So this is about the same height of that tripod. It's about 4 feet wide. And the rover wheels have imprinted on them the emblem of India, like the flag or some sort of thing. We'll revisit that later. Solar panel is on the lander, is deployed up. This is supposed to last and there's the little rover going off the wheels. You see the wheel tracks. Watch this as a live video that they had. I think it went about an inch every second. Okay, 1001 it goes an inch, 1002 an inch. Okay, so it took it a while to get off that, but they've speeded it up, and you can't believe how close there's a crater right in front of it that it could have dipped down in. So it's obviously using some artificial intelligence to drive it. It has already gone 8 meters, over 25 feet. And so India is proud that they have boots on the ground. The 1.2 billion per people nation of India is very proud of this. So we will be monitoring how more pictures that are coming down the pike. And when you look up at that beautiful moon, that's first quarter tonight, right at the bottom of the moon, you see Chandrayaan-3 landing site. That is where the little rover is with the lander there. You're not going to see them through a telescope, but if you come out to Beachside Hotel tonight, I'll show you where the area where that is. So, and it looks quite dramatic and quite beautiful. So, Selvin, we doing okay over there? Thank you, Selvin, for pinch hitting today. Push your microphone. And did you see the beautiful moon out there last night?
I did. I fell asleep before I thought the rocket was going to launch. And
okay. Well, you had your alarm set at 3 o'clock, right? So
I did, but it didn't work.
Well, you go out and get some moonshine tonight, Selvin, and that's the kind of moonshine you can't get too much of. And you look right at the bottom of the moon there and pretend that little rover's moving around for you there. So the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, that is their space agency, is very proud of this. Reading, of course, news stories about the poverty in India and how they could, turn their backs on their people and so forth. By doing science, they can help their people better. So, but this is the 4th nation to land on our moon. Russia did it first, unmanned, then America, unmanned, and then crewed. The only people to put humans on the moon are, of course, America. And the last time we did that was December 1972. And then China has landed several things on the moon. One on the back side. One is up in the upper left-hand corner, that little yellow dot. That's China. There are 2 landers. And Russia, those red dots, those are its rovers. A couple of them brought back samples from the moon. So very active going to the South Pole of the moon. Why? Because there is buried ice underneath the ground there. And we all know that scientists like their cocktails, so they need a lot of ice for their drinks. No, that's not why. We need water to turn it into fuel, oxygen, and all the elements that we can out of H2O. That is the elixir of life and of so many things that human beings depend on. So look up at the moon, get a little moonshine tonight, and think about old Chandrayaan 3. The rover is called Panyan, which simply means in China, what does it mean, Mark? I had that right there. It means wisdom. Pragyan, a Sanskrit word for wisdom. So it's India has taken a walk on the moon, and we're proud of them for accomplishing that. Well, we got a couple happy birthdays, Selvin. We got two shuttle astronauts, Drew Feutzel. There's Drew's 58. And Lee, and his nickname is Brew, B-R-U, Archambault is 63. Happy birthday to both of those guys there. Let's look at Drew here. Andrew J. Feutzel, Feustel, was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania on August 25th, 1965, but he grew up in Lake Orion, Michigan, influenced by the Motor City, Detroit. Indeed, he is a rock and roll guitarist for the all-astronaut band called Maximum Q, Max Q. Never heard them play, but I'd love to. Feutzel is a Purdue naut from the University of Purdue, 2 shuttle flights in an International Space Station 56 tour. He is the third most experienced spacewalker with 9 spacewalks, 225 days in space, third all time on spacewalks. Feutzel did his last moonwalks or spacewalks on the Hubble Space Telescope. And then in 2009, then he went up on Endeavour in 2011 and did 3 more spacewalks. He is passionate about restoring sports cars, and as well as his guitar collection. So, and happy birthday to Lee Joseph Brew Archambault, Archambault. He's a one-time shuttle pilot and then a commander, and was born August 25th, 1960 in Oak Park, Illinois, growing up in Hillside. He was on 2 hard hat missions 21 months apart, STS-117 in June 2007 and STS-119 in March 2009. 27 days in space, and Brew Archbold is a rare one-time pilot who become a commander. His nickname, BRU, pronounced Brew. He said, I had an unfortunate incident with a bomb rack unit in an F-111 jet. A BRU, bomb rack unit. He must have hit his head or something against it. So, happy birthday to Brew Chambald and Jay Feutzel, and Andrew J. Feutzel, all right? And hope they're out in the community doing great things today. All right, take that banner off there if you would there. Appreciate that. And what is that we're looking at? Well, that is another thing that America spent a few $1 billion on that didn't happen. That is the Gemini spacecraft attached to the Manned Orbiting Laboratory, which on this date, August 25th, 1965, President Lyndon Johnson announced the approval of the Department of Defense's $1.5 billion budget for the Manned Orbiting Laboratory. $1.5 billion in 1965 is $15 billion today. All right. That is a lot of commitment to this. President Johnson said the Manned Orbiting Laboratory would, quote, bring new knowledge about what man is able to do in space and will enable us to relate that ability to the defense of America. Can you say spy versus spy? Okay, that's exactly what's going on here. The hardware is being built, and 17 astronauts were selected as manned orbiting Air Force astronauts with blue spacesuits, just like the Air Force Blue. And this was a very serious program. In 1962, the astronauts were training. And in 1969, it was canceled. Why? Because of the miniaturization of transistor technology allowed unmanned spacecraft, satellites, to be built that could be launched with other capabilities that could even exceed humans from space. So the Department of Defense determined that with the advance of the unmanned reconnaissance satellites like Keyhole, and which was a big decision of that, humans wouldn't be needed. All right. Well, when we thought humans were needed, this is what we were going to need them for: is to you had a main cabin, you had an auxiliary cabin, you had an experimental module there, and then you had all your equipment and engine stuff in the back there. And what they theorized they would be doing would be manned reconnaissance over unfriendly countries, but also doing some Earth resource science up there. That's how they justify being up there to the taxpayers, of course. But there would actually be a hole in the rear of the Gemini spacecraft there. The service module would basically be, there would be things around the side of the service module, but the center of it would be free so that a hatch could be open and an astronaut go right into the mole observatory there. And that was tested by one Gemini spacecraft that's out there at Cape Canaveral that was used to on 2 missions and to test that mole heat shield. So 17 mole astronauts were chosen. Of them, 7 of them transferred to the shuttle program and flew in space. That would be Richard Truly, the late Carol Bobko, Bob Crippen, Gordon Fullerton, who's passed away, Henry Hartsfield, Don Peterson, he's passed away, and Robert Overmar's passed away. Good, I didn't notice that. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those 7 have passed away. So it was a very ambitious program and very expensive. There is an artist rendering of the Air Force across the side of it there. It was going to be a completely different space program than the one that President Kennedy wanted us to go to the moon on, that LBJ got a hold of. And there's one of the blue suits with Bob Crippen beside it. I've seen one at the Oklahoma Science Museum has it. And this blue suit was apparently found in a locker at Kennedy Space Center, and they didn't know what it was all about. But then when they figured out that, yep, blue, that's Air Force, that was a manned orbiting laboratory spacesuit. That part of that $1.5 billion that was approved on this date in 1965 went to Bill. So, well, we're going to talk now about a wonderful mission of NASA, one of the most successful missions, Voyager 2. We talked about Voyager 2 and that we're still communicating with it. It has left the solar system, but on this date, August 25th, 1989, human beings got their only close-up view of this gas giant world. Now, at the time Voyager 2 was launched in August 1977 from Cape Canaveral, the solar system looked like this. Well, sort of, with all apologies, okay. Pluto was still a planet. I'm not sure that the Earth was flat, Selvin. You catching that in this here? We're just appeasing some people out there, all right. The Flat Earth Society, hope you're happy. Of course, Mars, Jupiter, and the rest of them aren't flat. But Pluto, when Voyager 2 left, was a part of our planetary planets, and now it's a dwarf planet for good reason. It's not even as big as Earth's moon. And there's 4 or 5 other objects we'd have to include as planets that are about the same size as Pluto, way, way beyond that. But Neptune is 2 billion miles away, all right? And it is huge. It is 4 times larger than the Earth. But when Voyager 2 went by it, there's Voyager 2 spacecraft, and one of the pictures it took of it, with the famous dark oval and the white on it there, in the atmosphere. We're looking at the top of the clouds of Jupiter, of Neptune, just like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They're all got rocky cores that are enveloped by a gigantic gas system of this is methane. That's why it's blue. All right. But when you go closer to the surface, below the cloud deck, this is the coldest planet in the solar system at 300 below zero. But it has the fastest winds in the solar system, 3,000 miles an hour. They top out. Now, Pluto's further away, and the dwarf planets in the Kuiper Belt, where Pluto is, aren't as cold as Neptune, and we don't know why. Neptune was discovered in 1846 by two mathematicians that made calculations, and then different people looked through telescopes and saw them. In France, it was Urbain Le Verrier made the calculations, and John Gall, G-A-L-E, is credited with discovering the planet. It is named after the Roman god of the sea, all right, Neptune, of course. Like I said, over 30,000 miles across. The Earth is 8,000. If the Earth were the size of a nickel, Neptune would be the size of a baseball. So you can relate to that. A nickel is Earth, a baseball is Neptune, and Uranus, for that matter, is about the same size. Average distance from the sun is over almost 3 billion miles. All right. Sunlight takes 4 hours to leave the sun and reach Neptune. Now that's significant here in a minute, though it's only getting 1% of the sunlight the Earth is getting. We know that sunlight does things on Neptune because the Hubble telescope's been watching it for over 30 years. There is the Voyager view on the right and Hubble telescope on the left. Just about as good, but not quite as sharp. But what they've been seeing over 30 years are these white clouds develop and then disappear against the blue background of the methane-induced clouds. And this dynamics has been recorded in, you're going to see here in a minute, how sunspots are affecting this from over almost 3 billion miles away, where sunlight takes 4 hours to reach it. This is the giant moon Triton of Neptune. And Selvin, as you look at Triton, it looks like a cantaloupe. And you don't see many impact craters. And this tells scientists that it has refreshed its surface within the last million years or so, that any meteors or impacts that hit it have been disappeared by something, and that something is ice. This is an ice-covered world. It is a little bit smaller than Mars, all right? It's the second largest moon. Titan of Saturn is bigger, and Triton is next. This is Triton. And at the bottom of the cantaloupe, you see those dark spots where you see the dark streaks there? Well, we figured out that those are shadows from geysers of water shooting up in the sky as Voyager 2 passed by. And it recorded this, and they have digitized it and of course, analyzed it with other telescopes that can not just see it, but know what's going on. Geysers are erupting on Triton. Again, the Triton of Neptune is where that comes from. So we need another probe to go back there. But it took 12 years for Voyager 2 to be launched and reach Neptune. 12 years to go 3 billion miles. So we better hurry up and launch one if I'm going to see a fresh view of Neptune here. But as we said, these dark supersonic winds, dark, cold clouds, it has made one complete orbit since it was discovered in 1846. Of course, it's been there for billions of years on there. Now, here's something that's very interesting that we're going to look at the sun. This is the sun today. These are two big sunspot groups on the left. You see three little ones on there. This is how professional astronomers label them so they can talk about, hey, did you see sunspot, whatever that is, 3443 yesterday? We saw that it was erupting this, that, and the other. Well, sunspots are cooler areas of the sun that are more active, and that activity throws material into the solar corona that, though the surface of the sun is only 6,000 degrees, around it, its atmosphere is 1,000,000 degrees. So we don't understand what's going on with this nuclear furnace, that the radiation heats up the atmosphere around it. And this stuff spews into the solar system, and the ultraviolet radiation and so forth extends all the way out to Neptune and beyond. And we'll show you that in a second. Now, the sun goes through an 11-year cycle of where at 6 years from now, you didn't see any sunspots on the sun. We didn't see sunspots on the sun for almost 2 years. And now it's covered with them as 6 years later in this 11-year cycle, up and down like a bell curve, the sun heats up. We had a hotter July, not just because of global warming, but because this is one of the hottest solar cycles we've had for heat. And unfortunately, solar scientists aren't talked to regularly by the global climate change enthusiasts, which is happening, which man has helped along, but the sun is also technically hotter, not by a few degrees hotter, by minuscule amounts that change things in the solar. It's less than a half a degree, let's say. So what has happened, look at this gorgeous picture of the International Space Station captured crossing the sun with some sunspots there. There's amateur astrophotographers all over the world that enjoy capturing this. It is an incredible achievement because you have to be exactly at the right place at the right time, and you only have about a half a second, and the space station goes by the half a degree of the sun. Well, sun's heating up, the cycle is reaching a peak, and this is the solar cycle on the bottom over the last 30 years, laid out with the peaks there at the top. Where you see the peaks are, you see that Neptune is more active, all right? That though it's only getting 1% of the sunlight that the Earth is, that sunlight affects Jupiter's atmosphere 3 billion miles away from it. And here's the proof of the evidence that the sun does do something to the Earth. It has to do something to the Earth's climate change if it's changing the climate of Neptune every 6 years when it peaks 3 billion miles away. And to just depart looking at the old Neptune there. Neptune looks bluish because of some of the ingredients on it. A lot of hydrogen. Uranus actually looks greenish because of its methane glow there. So this is all, the Webb telescope has also looked at Uranus, and it will be studying some of these things that we talked about. But the planets are not a priority for the Webb telescope, as it is designed to see infrared radiation from cosmic gases, galaxies, and other things out there. So, all right. Well, let's end our program here with talking about the traffic jam up at the space station. Are you ready for what's about to happen in the next 30 days? We're going to swap out 2 crews, okay? We're going to swap out the Crew 6 for the Crew 7 once they get up there. And then there is a Soyuz crew, technically called the MS-22 Soyuz crew, that's going to be swapped out by the MS-24 crew here in the middle of September. So there's a great shot of the International Space Station. Down at the bottom there, Selvin, I'm pointing out the Kibo module with their outdoor porch on it. And over here on that docking port is where, to the left at the bottom, that node there is where is going to be the space habitat built by, what's the I'm blanking out the company that's going to build. We've been talking about them. Axiom. Yeah, Axiom. Axiom has sent 2 crews to the space station to scout out how they can attach their modules there. Just to the left where you see the little cylinders there. So up at the top is a Soyuz spacecraft docked to it. All right, and of course the solar panels. And so let's talk about who's in space and what's happening. Right now we have one, two, three, four, five spaceships docked to the International Space Station. This is a graphic, of course. Just last night, I watched Progress 85 right there dock to that nodule. Progress 84 docked last week. They have sent up 2 supply missions, Russian has. There you see the Soyuz MS-23. That is the crew module. And all of that is the Russian side. That is the Russian modules. They pretty much keep to themselves over there. They do get together in the galley to talk to the other astronauts on board, which we have 7 on there right now. So you see it, they're kind of over to one end. And after the crew scrub last night, they had the docking in progress, and that was kind of fun to watch. Now, Cygnus 19 is also a supply ship that was launched from Wallops Island about 3 weeks ago, and our friend Mark UCX talked about that last Friday on Stay Curious. And then the Crew 6 Dragon up there is what took up we're going to talk about those 4 astronauts here in just a minute. They're about ready to come back. MS-23 was sent up uncrewed because MS-22 sprung a leak, and that jeopardized the lives. It did not jeopardize the lives of anybody, but they were afraid that it would jeopardize the re-entry if they used that to bring back the Soyuz crew that has now been up there for over 340 days. They're on an extended mission, and they're going to be up there for just a little over 365 days. But we will have tomorrow when the commercial crew quartet aboard Endurance will automatically dock to Harmony's Marginal Spacefaring Port at 8:39 a.m. on Sunday. That's right before the green flag for the Formula One race, Selvin in Holland this weekend. So I'll be watching that before the F1 race there. But they're going to dock on the far side. We can't see the port. You might be wondering, where are they going to dock? They've already got 5 up there. Whoop, let me go back here, blow my show here. So the Harmony module's on the back side there, about where you see Cygnus is. It'd be located back there. So very interesting to see all these up there. So up there now, here are the Russian crew that included Frank Rubio. All right. They have all been up there now for 338 days. And they will be coming back and landing September 27th. So this is August 25th, so they got another month to go. So they're going to be up there for, they were launched September 21st. So they're going to be up there just a year and a few days. That will be one of the longest missions. The Russians had a 450-day mission by one of its cosmonauts. But this certainly eclipses what Scott Kelly did, 11 months. That was a big deal when he went up there. He's going to stay up there a whole year. Well, it was actually 11 months. These 3, American Frank Rubio will surpass that endurance of any American when he comes back safely to Earth, landing around September 27th. By the way, Sergei Prokhorov there in the middle is the commander of the ISS Expedition 59, and he's had a previous mission. His total right now is 534, so he's going to end up with over 570 days in space when he comes back. Well, who else we have? We got 3 up there. We got 4 more on the space station, and there they are. That is our Space Crew Dragon 6. And Steve Bowen, up there in the upper left. This is 176 days for Crew 6 to be up there, launched March 2nd. They will return a week from today, Selvin, September 1st, on Friday. They will either land in the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic Ocean, where SpaceX has been recovering these Dragons. Their spaceship is called Endeavour, all right? And Endurance is the one launching. And Endurance has 3 flights. I think Endeavour has 3 also. Well, you got up there 176 days in space. This Crew 6 has been up. But Steve Bowen had 2 back-to-back, by the way, shuttle missions late in the program, and he's up there 216 days right now. So they're just going to add another 7 days, hopefully, when we get Crew 7 up there. And we have 7 on the space station. We can't forget that that is Expedition 69. And when we get, we can't forget that we have 3 Chinese on their Tiangong space station. Now this crew's been up there for 87 days as of today, but the gentleman on the left, Ying Haipeng, this is his 4th space flight, and the other 2 are rookies. He's been out in space 135 days so far on 4 space flights. He was the 2nd Chinese person in space. The first one, Li Yun, was or Louis, whatever his name is. They kind of shelved him because he's the first. So he was like John Glenn. They're never going to fly him again. And they did fly John Glenn years later, 27 years later, or 37 years later. So Ying Haipeng there is their most seasoned astronaut. They call him Takyonauts. And this is his 4th flight. They are going to return to Earth around November. And then we're sure that they will launch a crew in November to keep continuously occupancy up there, as China doesn't announce what they're doing. But this is the 11th crewed mission by China since they started putting humans in space. So, well, we're excited to see this is the Chinese Tiangong space station there. How does that rank with the American space station? This is what it looks like now. We're expecting them to launch a space telescope that's not going to attach to Tiangong. It's going to fly in the same orbit as Tiangong. And there's a look inside of their space station, the 3 cosmonauts in there working out. They're trying to keep it pretty clean with clutter from cables by using exclusively Bluetooth communications for almost all of their data gathering instruments. American Space Station is about 270 miles up. Tiangong is a little bit lower, but not much. As you see in this graphic, Tiangong is about 1/3 the size of our International Space Station. But the occupancy area there, they say that ours is like a 6-bedroom house, so theirs might be like a 3-bedroom house. They're not going to add any more to this. They will utilize it and then advance to the next stage of Chinese space stations. This is indeed their 3rd space station that they put in space. The other 2 were just cylinders. Well, there's our Expedition 69 crew, soon to be joined by the 4 members of Crew Dragon 6. And who we got watching today, Selvin? Anybody special as we're looking at the 70th expedition when we get the Crew Dragon 6 up there? Go ahead, buddy.
Dave Stange, Doug Forrest, Astronaut Files, Conklin Bailey, Mark Uziak, Ophelia, I don't know how to pronounce that last name, Robert Law, William Whiting, and we have Steve J. from Lake County Spaceport, who I received a donation from last week and didn't know who it was.
Oh, okay, Steve. Thank you.
Steve.
Thank you, Steve, for your donation. He has a company that has lots of decals for spacecraft and stuff. That we'll talk about that. My new friend there. We also had a lot of Japanese in the building today with a lot of kids, and our STEAM education program is just going very good. Thanks to Darren Roberts, our educator there. It's always been a dream of our executive director, Karan Conklin, to get the kids involved with some good STEAM education, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So we're glad to have a program going for them on STEAM there. So, Selvin, you did a great job today. We hope to get these astronauts up in space tomorrow morning. And look, this is what our beautiful International Space Station looked like 21 years ago. All right. And look, just a couple cylinders together there. And they have a Soyuz space station. The shuttle was, the Soyuz spacecraft attached. The shuttle was there. And as I showed you, our beautiful space station looks like that in 2023, with 5, soon to be 6 space stations hanging off of it, doing great science and improving humanity's existence on Earth with all this technology. You better believe that this space station has revolutionized our world like you cannot imagine. Its days are numbered, it's getting old, and it won't be around in 10 years probably. But sadly, there's nothing, America's not doing anything to replace it. We're concentrating on going to the moon and Mars. So that's all good, but we do need to have a low Earth orbit presence for human beings to be doing this important science that has translated so well into pharmaceuticals and other technologies here on Earth. So, well, thank you, Selvin, for a great job. And we hope that everyone stays curious with us by watching us on YouTube. You can watch any program that we've had up there in like the last 2 years. We've been on YouTube 2 years. I said 1 year earlier. No, it's 2 years. And about half of our programs are on there. Just Google an astronaut or a space worker or Google Marty and see what he's up to. Marty, we missed you today, but Selvin, you did a great job doing it there. And thank you, Jessica Galloway, for getting us through a little startup hiccup there. So hope you all enjoy the launch of Space Crew 7 to 3:37 in the morning. All right. And we hope that you join us next week and have a wonderful weekend as our America and North America is getting ready for fall, as the temperatures are coming down here, finally here on the Space Coast. But the moon's out there, so go out there and get your little moonshine. That's the kind of moonshine you can't get too much of. And think about that little rover from India that is doing its thing on the surface of the moon. Until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying, I can't wait to see you to bridge the space between us.